everybody. My name is Chris Flippin, and welcome back to another video where I am here with the amazing Dr. Jane. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hey, Chris. I'm doing great today. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you. All right. So for those of you guys who don't know Dr. Jane, she is one of the most amazing people that I've ever met. She's got a lot of really cool stuff going on that we're going to talk about today. So Jane, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know who you are, what you do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Jane. I'm Jane Mims, and I'm an executive success coach. I'm an emotional intelligence teacher, mentor, coach. I'm an author. About to be a podcaster, and I have a YouTube channel here as well with my company, Guild Coaching.
Awesome. Awesome. So a little bit more in depth, we're going to ask you, like, what was life growing up for you as a kid, as a teen, you know, where'd you grow up and what did you like doing?
Yeah. It's so funny. When I talk about my life as a kid, I feel like I'm talking about somebody else because I feel like I've lived 3 lifetimes already. But yeah, so I'm the youngest of 4 kids, 4 girls.
Wow.
So I'm the baby brat, and I'm one of 21 grandkids on my mom's side. So like a whole big Irish, Irish Catholic family.
Right.
I grew up in a really, really strict household. And when you look at my childhood, from one side, it was a really happy childhood. I had that kind of traditional dad goes to work, mom stays home kind of, life.
Right.
But then from another side, I grew up in a really high anxiety, emotionally abusive household because we were always, what was modeled for us was looking at what everybody else had and did. And even though we couldn't keep up with the Joneses, we were really taught how to build facades so that it looked like we were. And so it was really a life modeled for me of being inauthentic.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a long time to figure out who I actually am. And in finding my authenticity, I've been able to help other people tap into theirs.
Right. So tell us a little bit about some of this isn't really one of the questions that we talked about, but I wanted to kind of talk about what were some of the things like how long did it take you before you kind of, woke up, so to speak?
Well, the religiously, the household that I grew up in, I've already said, big Irish Catholic family, but my family my mom, dad did not follow the Catholic Church's changes that happened back in the 1950s and 1960s during the ecumenical movement, when everybody started to hold hands with the Protestant churches and, not say that everybody else was going to go to hell when they die. They didn't really follow that love movement. They kind of stayed. And so church for me did not look like what it would look like if you go walking into a Catholic church now. It looked like, the women all have to put veils on and we're not allowed to have any roles other than we can do people's laundry, their guild sort of jobs. The priest comes out, never faces the crowd, and it's all in Latin. So that's what church looked like for me through high school. So very, very ostracized when it comes to religion.
Right.
I was the discipline in my household was very, very strict, and it sounds like I'm talking really poorly about my parents. They did what to their consciences was the best thing that they could do, and they loved us.
Yeah.
It's just looking back, we can always find fault with, you were a little too strict there and you were a little, a little too this or that. So honestly, when I started to awaken, it was when I was about the age that my girls are now. I have 2 girls. We have 5 kids. 3 kids are step kids. They're in and out of college. 5, I know. It's a lot of people.
I've got 3 and that's plenty.
Yeah. So I have 3 step kids. And then my biological daughter's 12, and we're adopting an 8-year-old right now. So lots of people. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. So when I was right between my daughter's ages, the 2 little ones, I started to go to this Christian youth group that was really close to my house. It wasn't Catholic, and it certainly wasn't like girls don't talk and wear a veil Catholic. I don't even know that there are any of those, but it was fun. And it was just kind of a social thing. It was every Thursday night, I remember. And I just remember getting picked up right after sundown. So, I just knew when the sun went down, it was time to go home.
Right. So, oh
weekend
man.
retreat to, and on that weekend retreat, I was really introduced a different version of Christianity, I guess, that was instead of like works based and guilt focused, it was love and grace focused. And so at that time, my eyes were really open to, oh, there can be other perspectives on anything. So to start, not to question the template that I had been given, but to be open to other entrees to that template and to other templates.
Right, right. And you know, I wanted to kind of touch up on a couple of things that you said there. And, you know, going back to what you had mentioned about your parents, you know, where when you were talking about them, it could be sound like it's kind of something, sounds a little like you're talking to that. One thing I think that people need to understand, and this is something that I understood through my healing journey, is regardless of what your parents, like whatever you might think about the way you were brought up, one of the things that we have to understand is our parents were doing the best that they could with what they knew at their time and within their journey, within their awakening, you know. And you know, yes, there are some parents that may be more spiritually awake versus like religious, right? And others that are not.
Big difference. Big difference.
Right. So for example, like my sister she's been very spiritually awake for quite some time now, whereas for me, like I'm just getting there now, right? And so I think one of the things, you know, because I've had some issues with my parents and stuff in the past too, right? However, one of the things that I've been able to really move past now is realizing that regardless what's happened, is that they did the best that they knew how at the time. And that's really all we can hope for, right? And then another thing that I wanted to touch on that you mentioned was the perspectives. I think that was probably one of the biggest epiphanies that I had, you know, as I was waking up, was that, you know, it's like, hold on a second. You mean there's other perspectives? Right?
Yeah.
And, right, dude, it's like, what do you mean you have your own perspective? Like, you know, it was like,
and tell me about it.
You're supposed to see, and right. And the thing that was so tough for me is like, you know, before like that really sunk in, right? You know, because you always hear the expression, "Oh, put yourself in another person's shoes," but until like you truly, I think like until you woken up to yourself, right?
Yes.
The fact that your perspective, until you've understood that your perspective isn't the only one, I think it's hard to put yourself in that and see things from another person.
Yeah, I say that to potential clients who come to me to coach them, and they're like, well, this person's doing this and this person's doing that, and my boss is, and I'm like, okay, fantastic. Thank you for letting me know the landscape.
Right.
What's here? You know, what's in here? And to really understand what's without, you have to be in touch with what's within. And that's just it. And you can't step into another person's shoes unless you actually know how to stand in your own.
Right. And that was, I think that was very, very well said. And I think that's when I was able to really realize, like, you know, for example, you know, my mom, right? Things that happened between myself and my mother, right? You know, until I was healed and like you said, able to stand in my own shoes without being like, well, you, and you, right? And just went within for answers. I was not even close to being able to do that. But I can't tell you how amazing it is now that I can, because you're able to really, truly put yourself in that other person's shoes and then realize, like we were just talking about earlier, that they did do their best, you know, and regardless of how we feel about it, you know, we have to give them credit for that and be able to say, okay, let's move forward from this point. You know,
and you can find yourself in the place where you can love someone. My mother has been gone almost 10 years, and I've found myself in the place where I can love her, not despite her mistakes, but through them, because through my perspective now on her mistakes, I'm able to make different parenting decisions, be more open, have conversations with my girls that you know, like the word sex. Oh my gosh. You know, I mean, I had one conversation with my girls with the word sex in it. And like, they were both like, you know, like got all scrambly and started looking around. And I said, oh, okay. So we're going to say this word and I'm going to say it over and over and over again until you guys stop looking embarrassed. And I think I literally just stood there said the word sex over and over again for 6 or 7 minutes until
Oh,
they
wow.
stopped reacting to it. And I was like, okay, now let's answer your.
Right.
And then they were like, now the word doesn't faze them because I just took all the taboo out of it. But,
right. And,
you know, just something like that, just a little lesson like
right. And I can't, you know, I want to give you like tons and tons of credit for doing that. Because I think that's one of the things that, you know, I notice with my friends that, you know, that are parents, like they have a hard time talking to their children about things.
that. Oh, yeah.
And I like, for me, like I've done very similar things like what you have done, like not that exact thing where I've like repeated the word until, but however, I was, you know.
It was a little awkward.
Right. Well, and considering I like my oldest daughter, right? You know, when it got to that part, it was like, okay, you need to talk to, like, you know, I was married at the time, so I was like, you need to go talk to Jen about that, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to pass that. However, you know, my ex-wife was very similar to what you are, where it wasn't, you know, it's just been part of life, and it's natural to be to talk about things like that. And I think the more that we do that around children, the better off that they are, you know, like for me, like for, you know, my mom was very open to having those discussions with me. And so being that it kept me away from doing things that I probably would have done when I was way too young to be able to do them.
Exactly, right? Which is one of my mom's mistakes that I've taken, that I've changed, because she wasn't willing to have those conversations. And so I just kind of figured things out for myself. And I'll tell you, looking back now as a woman in her 40s, there are some things that I probably wouldn't repeat, you know, 20 plus years ago, you know,
right.
So
right.
It's just being authentic in yourself enough to say, this isn't a bad word, whatever the issue is, whether it's drugs or sex or whatever the issue is, just taking the intrigue out of it and making it normal, because otherwise they're gonna figure it out. You know, they're gonna put their hands in it. And if you're awkward, just like if any parents are watching and their kids are coming up on the ages that ours are and have been, gosh, just if you have to look yourself in the eye in the mirror and say a word 85 times in order for you not to look awkward saying it, like do it before you talk to those kids, because they can read you and they will break you down.
Well, and not only that, you know, I agree with you, you know, tenfold on that, right? And I think one of the things that, you know, I'm not a doctor by any means, but there's things that, you know, I've got 3 kids and I've learned, you know, with my oldest daughter, like, you know, I think one of the things is you have to be able to have these discussions, because if you're awkward about them and you're not having discussions, then they're going to be awkward in those situations and not have discussions. And that's going to lead to, you know, teen pregnancies, you know, things like because they're not understanding like what the process is that's needed for that. Right. And the thought process. So I think it's very, very important. And, you know, kind of to touch up on something, you know, piggyback on what you just said, like for my oldest daughter, you know, I put her behind the wheel of a car. Like we used to go up to the Christmas tree farms here in Santa Cruz Mountains. And I would put her behind the wheel of a car when she was like 8 years old, and just, you know, obviously 2 short 3-step pedals, but, you know, I put it in drive, and she would just cruise at like 4 or 5 miles an hour around the Christmas tree farms. So by the time that she got to the age where she was able to get behind the wheel of a car, she already knew kind of how to manage and how to stay in the center of the road. And, you know,
so cool. That's how my dad taught me to drive. You know, I sat on his lap and steered his truck. We had this big, we had a couple of acres, basically a big flat football field in front of our house growing up.
That's awesome.
And we would just drive his truck around the field. And
yeah. So and through that, you know, as she got older, like I taught her how to really drive. Like I used to have a BMW 650i, and so I taught her how to drive in that car, right? Yeah. And I mean, I taught her how to drive it. You know, like we would go in the big, you know, shopping mall parking lots, and you know, I showed her how to accelerate the car, how to brake the car, you know, brake it, you know, how to turn while you're braking. You know, we took the traction control off and we went out in the rain, and so she knew. So by the time that she even had her permit, like I would be comfortable with her driving in the car, you know, no problem. And I mean, she was such a good driver by the time that she had her permit that my ex-wife would fall asleep in the car when she'd be driving back home from, let's say, like Tahoe or something like that. My
oh my gosh, said no teenage parent ever. That's amazing. Well done.
Right? and not only that, but one of the things that was great is once she got her car, right, because she had done all the speed stuff with dad in the car, there was no like, ooh,
Yeah.
it was all out of her system by that point. And it was done in
Yes.
a safe environment where I was there with her. I could, manage her,
Yeah.
teach her how to manage the car properly. So by the time that she got her car, so she's
Yeah.
24 now. Yeah, 24.
Well
Right.
done. I have to remind my husband how old his kids are. So good job.
Right? I always I remember I was 22 when she was born, so I have to add 22 to take away 22 to whatever my age is, right? So what's great is so to this day, she still hasn't gotten in a car accident, knock on wood, right? And still, to my knowledge, at least that I know, hasn't gotten any tickets either. But it's because she knows, and then she can get behind the wheel of any car and manage that. And I think that really touches up on what you said about having the conversations, whether it be, about a car or about sex or about drugs. The more that we're having these conversations, the more aware our kids are.
Yeah.
Right?
Or even if it's about your opinion on French Impressionism, just have conversations with your kids. They may act like they don't want to talk to you, and they may, you may start to try to talk to them, and then they'll kind of edge off like this. Like my adorable stepson who just turned 24, when I go to hug him, he's always like, does the bro,
Yeah, I know the one arm.
Right. Right. And so I have to respect that space, because this, and if you want for a minute, energetically speaking, this, if I come to hug you, this is very intimidating, because I'm bringing the whole of my meridians at you. And so you have to understand, when you're growing up, if you haven't grown into that knowledge and have a full understanding of how powerful you are, and you're more than right here, how powerful your whole energy space is. No wonder boys, growing up, teenagers and preteens, don't like to talk eye to eye. It's the most powerful energy exchange in the world comes from right here. And so no wonder they like to talk shoulder to shoulder, and girls look at their shoes and boys kind of look, no wonder. So you've got to respect the space where they are, and have the conversations. Cars, sex, art, shoelace preferences, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Jane, what would you say is one of your greatest strengths, and why?
I would say, I'm going to preempt what I think is your next question, which is my greatest weakness. I'm going to say my greatest strength and my greatest weakness are the same thing.
Okay. And what is that?
And it just depends on what I do with it. I'm very versatile. I have done a lot of things in my life. I am high energy. I love people. I can do a lot. I can talk science with you. I can talk French Impressionism with you. I can write a book and then go paint a painting. I can play Sorry with my kids and then have a fairly well-educated conversation on nuclear science. So I have a lot. I have a breadth of knowledge, just because I'm an eternal student. I will never not be studying and learning. Yeah, I know. I think that's why there's a friend connection here. But it's my greatest asset, because it does help me be a chameleon. I can just kind of slip in there and jive wherever I want to. But then when it's time for me to get down to it and do my business or focus on marketing or focus on something, there's all these other things that are fighting to get in. And so it just all comes down to personal discipline. It all comes down to being able to quiet my mind, being able to have that authenticity to admit to myself, okay, today is kind of a lower energy day. I'm going to give myself a walk break, or, to be totally honest, a video game break, because I'm a total video game junkie, which surprises everybody. But love them, especially car racing games, and kind of some shoot 'em up games. So the ones that you wouldn't expect me to like, probably. But yeah, so it's my greatest asset if I need to know how to just sift in and be there. But then in a room by myself, when I'm accountable for 50 things that need to be done, it can be a weakness if I don't have my commitment down.
Right. So you kind of touched on it a little bit. Now, would you say how you overcome your weaknesses are through that quieting of the mind, like meditation? Is there a specific thing that you do to overcome weaknesses? You mentioned that, greatest strength as also your greatest weakness, but even like with like other things that may not be your greatest weakness, do you find that there's like one thing that you do that can really help you overcome your weaknesses when you get into those modes like that?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that my routine, and I really don't like the word, I need to find another term that embodies what it is, because routine sounds so boring. But my daily personal rituals, I guess, are part of what helped me to be successful. I think that, for example, I have an ebook, a workbook that I linked from a blog that I wrote last year about how to make your own personal routine. And it's, it's a workbook. It takes you through just figuring out, because if you really like Oprah Winfrey or Tony Robbins or Master Shri Akashana, and you want to know what their morning routines are, fantastic. Go read their morning routines, try to do them. Good luck. But you're not Master Shri. You're not Tony. You're not Oprah. You're not those people. And so you really need to have your own personal routine. So that definitely has up-leveled my life, having that thing, whether it's Monday or Sunday, that I go through. We all want a framework, and that's really, really helped. So, I mean, anybody who wants to can go and download that. It's absolutely free. There's no charge. It's just on guildcoaching.com's blog. And that's, just type in morning routine. So it's 2 blogs and then that workbook.
Well,
And then if somebody wants me to, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, anything that she's talking about right now, we're going to have in all the links will be in the description below. So
Yes.
We're going to put tons of stuff down there for you guys from Jane. So don't worry about having to write it all down.
Oh yeah. We'll link you. We'll take care of you guys. Chris ain't going to leave you hanging. Neither will I. I would say that that's like number one, is having that routine down, whatever routine is for you, whatever your ritual is. Some people are like, oh, morning routine, it's going to take forever. Well, not really. And that's why you don't adopt somebody else's routine, because it just becomes this grudge that you carry around with you. You need it to be yours. You need to be able to put it on as easily as you put on your bathrobe.
Right.
You need it to be as comfortable as your favorite blanket.
Right.
But other than that, like through the minutes of my day, the minutes and seconds of my day, if there's something that, this is really the biggest way that I can overcome myself and get out of my own way. I see it coming. I see where I'm going to get in my own way. And so I just tell a whole bunch of people what I'm going to do, so that if it doesn't happen, there's no way I'm going to publicly embarrass myself on purpose. And so I just tell my accountability partners, Jade Moser is one of my dearest friends, accountability partners, Delisa Branch Neely, who you've recently interviewed. And if you guys have not checked out that interview, you should. She's a beautiful person. And Chris did an amazing job interviewing her. But we're about
right
Laughlin, somewhere, whichever side. Yeah, click those links after this interview, because we're not done with you yet.
Right.
But the 4 of us are really, we're soul sisters, and I'll put it out there to them. Hey, you guys, I'm doing this thing. And then they'll check in with me on it. I know they're going to check in with me on it, because I've surrounded myself with a circle of people who want me to succeed as much as I want to, as do I with their things, as do I want for them.
Right. And
so I'll put it out there, and I don't ever want to say to them, yeah, I was totally, I totally haven't done that yet.
Right.
So those are my partners. 2.
Accountability partners are a great way to help overcome weaknesses, and one of the things that I really like that you talked about let's say rituals versus routines, right? Because I agree with you, like the routine words kind of like gets you in a way where it's kind of like, but,
words have so much power, and people don't think that they do, but we learn this on the kindergarten playground when that first kid says something mean to us. I still carry around with me something mean that some little boy said to me in kindergarten. Well, I don't really still carry it around, but I did for years. And words have power. And so if there's a word that doesn't feel comfortable for you, make up a word, find a new word, make one up, whatever. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That's right. I was just speaking of words, did you see the video that I made on the power of words?
Yes.
Yeah, that one's amazing. If you haven't seen that one yet, again, the link will be up here somewhere. All right.
Somewhere, whichever side.
The power, Dr. Emoto, like after I saw that, it was just like, it blew my mind. When I was doing the research on that, I was just like, wow, right? And so now, like,
it goes back to the universal truth that everything is energy.
Right.
If a thought is energy and a thought produces a word, then the experiment with everybody right now, just 45 seconds. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go for it.
Okay. All right. I want everybody to close our eyes. Everybody, anybody who can hear me, anybody who's watching this, stop watching, just listen. And then a slow, slow, slow exhalation. I'm going to say a word. I want you just to breathe naturally, keeping your eyes closed. I'm going to say one word to you in the middle of your next breath. Breath in. Beautiful. Now think about how it felt when I said the word beautiful. Pretty nice. Chris is smiling. You guys can't see that because your eyes are closed. Now keeping your eyes closed, I want you to take one more deep breath in. I'm going to say another word. Ugly. Let it out. Think about how that felt. I'm going to leave you on a happy note. So we're going to take another deep breath in. Exhilarated. And a deep breath out. Now, if you didn't feel different energy with the second word, the one in the middle, then you're either dead or I don't know.
So,
they have.
So I'll tell you what I experienced there. Right. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go. Sure. This is your show, dude.
Yeah. So, hour.
Okay.
So, you know, the first word, like when you said that, like I felt like this brightness, right? Kind of like, you know, when you close your eyes, you see kind of like whether it's, you know, sometimes I see like things are red or blues or, you know, greens, yellows. As soon as you said the word, like everything just kind of lit up, right? And what's wild is when you said the second word, it was weird. It was almost like something just went and like it like almost like came in and just everything was dark all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
But it literally it looked like something had come in, like came at me and just like right up to my face, right? And I didn't like feel like you know, like that, but it was just like boom, right? And it's just like
Yeah, it blocked everything out.
yeah, right. All the light that I was seeing from the previous went away, and then the third word came back. Like, you know, I got all this like little, not sparklies, but just color flashes that started coming in all over the place, right?
Like glitter.
Yeah, yeah. And so, awesome little technique. And that's something that, you know, I want to say to everybody. Those are things that you can do on your own. So if you're in a mode where you're not feeling good, where you're kind of maybe you might be saying like, you know, talking down about yourself, whatever it may be, use that technique that you know Doc just shared with us, because that right there, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to use it in the future, right? Because just with my just that two words, those two words that were positive, like everything else that I was thinking about, whatever, even the questions that I was going to ask next, like all of them went away, and I just saw like I was like, ooh, pretty colors.
Well, and there's something cool that I do in my emotional intelligence mentorship when I'm working with my clients. One of many people will fixate on something that's wrong or that they perceive is wrong. And that's a very huge distinction. That's a tiny tweak, but huge, makes a world of difference. Like what you perceive is absolutely 100% correct in 100% of the situations, because it's your perception. Tweak that perception just
right.
a teeny tiny bit, then you can change everything. And when they're fixating on something that's negative, which is bringing them to that energetic black hole, like that word that I said, which isn't even that bad of a word, right? But it's just not a happy word. It's just not a high energy word. Right. If they can shift their thought, your brain cannot think about two things at once. People say that they're multitaskers. It's one of the things that I teach is time management and how to stop multitasking, because you're actually not multitasking. You're just increasing your stress level. Right. So we start to talk about how you cannot think about two things at once. You can shift back and forth really, really quickly between two different things, which is what people call multitasking, which is why every single time they try to do that, they screw everything up, because if you're working this fast, you can't do it right. But if you're thinking about, stop If you're thinking about something that you perceive as negative and you're just sitting there wallowing in it, like, oh, I think I'm going to lose my job, or, oh, I think that my spouse is cheating
You cut out.
on me, or any
No.
word, anything. He is, oh no.
Repeat what you just said after the spouse part.
Are you there?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, so if you're fixating on anything negative at all, recognize that you're fixating on something negative, and you can shift your thoughts toward anything else. Gee, isn't that flower pretty? Here, I've got a stone here. Gee, I sure do love the color green of that stone.
Yep.
Or, hey, I certainly am happy that I got the coolest phone cover in the world, and when I'm bored, I can play with it because it has glitter in it.
That is awesome.
I love glitter. Right? So you can literally, I found Master Lim playing with this during a talk once. And I was like, you're playing with my phone cover, dude. But yeah, so you cannot think about two things at once.
Right.
And so you literally can force yourself to look at something else. If I'm sitting here and I'm unhappy, I actually, on my wall, I have, I'll take it down real quick. This will be an odd shot. But on my wall behind where I work, I have this that my daughter painted for me.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
She's 12. This is old. Like, she did this when she was like 5. But I have this because if anything negative happens, or if I have a client who's going through something negative, all I have to do is look at the word happy. That was done with the fingers of one of my favorite people in the entire universe.
Right.
So all you have to do is divert your attention for 1 second to something that's not ugly.
Right.
And it will reduce your stress. It will increase your happiness.
Right.
It will make you more successful.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share with you something similar that I had on my walls that I got to put back up, which is these right here. Right. So those are,
that's awesome.
Right. So I can, if ever I'm like in a situation where I'm like kind of getting those contrasting thoughts, I got to put them back up on my wall because I just moved into a bigger place. Right. So I look at those, and so I can go down the list, and usually by the time that I get halfway down, those thoughts are completely gone. And in another video that I did, I shared about the 17-second rule, that it only takes 17 seconds to shift the momentum of those contrasting thoughts. And that's the technique that you used about with the rock or the plant or whatever is exactly what I shared something similar where, you could literally, I think I was talking about like boats or so. Actually, I haven't put that video out yet. I'll put that one out next. Right. But I was talking about I was down near the marina, and like for, those 17 seconds, I was talking about the boats that were in my peripheral vision. Right. And literally by the time that I got back after the 17 seconds, I couldn't even remember the things that I had said that I told people, okay, so if this was going on or if this was happening, I think I said something like, this person's never going to call me or something like that. Right. Or why isn't this person saying this to me or whatever? And it was so funny because by the time that I finished the 17 seconds, I couldn't even remember what it was that I had asked. Right. So
if you really,
it's extremely powerful technique. I really love that one. Thank you for sharing that.
Your choice.
So
it's your choice to clench your teeth down on it.
Right. Choice. It's all about choice. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. So now that, since we're talking about different things like this, can you give the audience one practical application of the law of attraction that has been the most successful for yourself?
Other than the one that we just talked about.
Yeah, other than the one that we just talked about. Yeah.
You have to always really do what Chris was just saying. Have those things. The thing that I loved about what you just held up is that it was I am. You're making a declaration that is so powerful when you declare things. I just, right before we got on this video chat to do this interview, I had a call with a client, somebody who wants me to coach her. And I said, okay, what I say at the beginning, if anybody ever has a call with me, what I'll say at the beginning after I give you, I'll say, you tell me why you're here. They all fill out an interview at the beginning, send me in stuff, but I'll want to hear it from their own words. I'll say, you tell me why you're here today. And the first words out of the people's mouths are, I am something. And the I am is usually followed by something negative. A procrastinator, depressed, lost, confused. I am, sorry, got some puppy dogs here with me. I don't even know what I am. And so people are making declarations all the time. I'm angry. I'm in a hurry. I'm tired. I'm too busy. And there's power in that I am statement. So be really careful with what you're following it with, because you'll manifest that thing. If you say that you're tired right now, I guarantee you, you don't even know what tired is, because it is coming for you. So really pay attention to what Chris just said. There's such wisdom in what he held up. Like, rewind this, screen capture it, make up your own declaration statements, do exactly what he just showed you, because that's perfect. So other than that, I would say my number one, I mean, I think I'm going to go back to what I said before about the morning routine, which I will give you that link. It'll be in the video description here for people to download that free e-workbook to create their own personal morning routine for success. Your soul, your body, your conscious, your subconscious, your super conscious loves to be in a dedicated pattern. So when you go into a dark state of energy or a dark state of thought, think about it. It is a dedicated pattern because you stay there. And even though it doesn't feel good to the conscious you, your subconscious is like, yeah, I'm in a pattern right now. I am so chilled out, because my conscious self might be miserable as all get out, but I know that I'm not going to burn in a house fire. I know that there's not a bear chasing me. I know that the wildebeest is not going to catch up with me today, you know, and that's your subconscious job. So give yourself that routine. I love it when people get past the point of, okay, I'm going to meditate for 30 seconds in the morning. Great. If that's your starting point, congratulations, you just started. Thumbs up. But I love to see when it's like a morning, noon, night, or hourly.
Yeah, that was, I was just watching a video, and I can't remember the name of the person but he's a, famous person who's deals with a lot of like celebrities and, billionaires. And one of the things that he talks about is, the first hour that you wake up, and he's got, I think it's called the 20-20-20 rule, where you do 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of you time, whether that's meditating or reflecting back on your day before and reflecting on your day that's coming up, and then 20 minutes of like journaling or reading.
Is it Colin's break?
Huh?
Was it Colin's break?
I can't remember, to be honest with you.
He's coached me in a couple of sessions. He's Richard Branson's coach, and I've had the honor of being coached by him in a couple. Yeah,
he's amazing. You did talk about working with the Virgin,
Yes, it's Colin.
Yeah.
It's Colin. He's hilarious. Can I tell you what he says about money?
Yeah, please.
He says, you never trade time for money, because if you want to, and Master Sri says this too, if you want to know if you trade time for money, open up your bank account right now and set your timer on your watch for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
See if your bank account balance changes. And if it didn't go up, you don't trade time for money. So he always says you trade your expertise for money. And he told this story once about how, in order to really get to the next level financially or anywhere else, you have to get outside your comfort zone. And when you get outside your comfort zone, it is scary. And when you're really scared, you poop your pants. And so he says that you better learn how to love the smell of poop, because if you're going to continually increase your net worth by doing things that are outside of your comfort zone, you're going to poop your pants every day. And so if anybody ever asks you what that smell is, all you have to do is say, money.
Success.
Colin is amazing. Yeah.
I love it. All right. So I know that you had a huge announcement that you just put out recently. So why don't you share that with us and tell us a little bit more about what you have coming up in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've put out several ebooks in my life, but I've never put out what I call like the big book until now. And it just published a couple of days ago. It's called Truth Bomb. It's available in paperback and on Kindle on Amazon.com. So if you want to find it, we'll put a link, of course. But if for some reason the link doesn't work, just go to Amazon and search Truth Bomb Jane Mims, and it'll pop up and you can grab that. It is a book. The subtitle is What Other People Don't Have the Guts to Tell You About Yourself. And
Right.
it is a collection of stories of how big of a bonehead I've been in my life and the truth bombs that were dropped on me, because there have been a ton of them. And then also a few other stories from people who did give me permission, and most of the names have been changed.
Right.
Not all of them, but most of them.
So a couple of things about the book that I think were awesome. So Master Shri Akarshana actually did the foreword,
I
right?
know. Oh my gosh.
Phenomenal, right? And another thing that I want to mention to you guys, okay, and just like Jane, she talks about in the intro, if you've never read introductions of the books that you have read in the past, take the time to read this one, okay? Now, it was funny because for me, like when I started reading it, I probably would have done the same thing that you had done in the past. However, because you said, if you normally skip it like I normally have, right? That totally caught me, right? And so I ended up reading the whole thing, the whole intro. So it's an amazing introduction to the book, and I can't wait to dive into the rest of it. So please, please, please check out her book, even if you only get the version on Kindle.
Yeah.
It's from what I've started reading so far, it's amazing, and I really dig the few stories that you have in there. What I think it's so amazing about him is the title of the book fits perfectly, right? And because those are truths that I think that we need to hear, right? And if we haven't done, if those truths don't fit us, there are at least truths that have happened to people that we can learn from, right? And I'm a huge advocate these days. I'm a huge advocate these days of learning from other people's mistakes.
Yes. And that's the whole point. Like, I've made so many screw ups, and I try to tell. I was a journalist for a long time. It was in television, really loved storytelling, and I tried to write the book in a storytelling kind of like if you and I were going to sit down and have cocktails together or enjoy a cup of Kangen together. Then they're the stories that we would probably end up rolling over, like, oh wait, and then this happened, and then this happened. And so I tried to tell it in a way that you could relate to, so that you will avoid my screw ups. And I have to say one thing, because you complimented the title of the book. I, for years, have had this block. I've been wanting to write a book, and I thought, I'll put this story in it and that story in it, or I'll do this or that, or I don't know what I'll do with it. I have been using the term truth bomb with my clients for almost 20 years. It never dawned on me to call my book Truth Bomb. And in November, when we were all together in San Diego, Master Shri Akashana's I Am Creator group, we were there for his Global Leadership Conference. I am honored to have won the Global Impact Creator of the Year award there. So that was like completely put the cherry on top of 2019 for me. It was an awesome year. I turned to my dear, dear friend, Jade Moser, and I was like, I just don't even know what to title my book. And she turned to me and she said, Truth Bomb, you say it all the time. So Jade Moser came up with the title, and I'm so grateful. And I wrote the book on my way home from San Diego.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so far from what I've read, you've done a great job. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. Is there any other things that you wanted to share, or are those just all, we're just going to put them all in the links below?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, we'll put a ton of things in the links below. I mean, I could talk to you for hours, but I doubt that everybody would be as entertained as you and I would be. I just, if anybody really is curious about any of the stuff that you and I have talked about, I would just really encourage them to reach out. I'm a real person. If you comment on this YouTube video, I will be following all the comments here. I'll answer you. You can email me directly. I'll give Chris my email address so you can.
Right. We'll put all the stuff in the links.
Email to me. You can get me through my website. Chris is one of the most approachable people in the world, and he has a heart for you. He has a heart for me. He has a heart for the entire world. And just, if you're thinking about, I really need to work on this, that, or the other, go ahead and just reach out. Don't let any of those, the biggest stumbling block that we have between where we are and getting that freaking book published, like me, or getting whatever done, whatever that thing is that you want to get done. Right. The biggest stumbling block that we have is our subconscious giving us all of these doubting questions that keep us in that comfort zone. And remember, when your subconscious is doing this, that means that you're not moving forward.
Right.
And so tell your subconscious, thank you, and then tell it to shut up. Like never just tell it to shut up because you want it to know that you appreciate it. But tell your subconscious, thank you for doing your best to keep me safe. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to do this and we're going to be fine. Make the call, send the email, do the thing that will make you live a little bit bigger than you did yesterday and not the thing that's going to keep you in the same place.
Yep. Do your best every day. Do your best every day is one of my biggest mottos now. Yes. All right, Jane. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm super excited to have had this opportunity to talk to you at this level, and I can't wait to see the more amazing things that you have going on. Namaste.
Namaste to you. There's another new book on the way, so wait for that one.
All right, everybody. You guys have a wonderful day. Take care.